Aloha and good afternoon. Thanks for tuning into This Is Now. We begin with some breaking news. You're looking at a live traffic camera of some flooded roads here on Oahu. The windward side is getting pounded by some severe weather. We're told the H3 freeway is completely flooded due to heavy rains. This camera is near the Kamehameha Highway off-ramp into the Kaneohe area. HPD said about a dozen vehicles are reportedly stalled on the roadway, and drivers are also advised to avoid Kamehameha Highway by Waiahole and Waianae Valley because of flash flooding. As we mentioned, right now, the windward side of the island is getting pounded by some severe weather. The National Weather Service has issued a flash flood warning, which is in effect for the windward side until about 1:45 this afternoon. That could be extended, however. And it was a rainy weekend overall. This morning specifically, the National Weather Service said rain was falling at about rates of 2 inches per hour. We have team coverage today. Guy Hoggy will have your full forecast coming up a bit later in the show. But over the weekend, Hawaii Island was also hit by some severe weather. Meanwhile, on Hawaii Island, Hilo businesses were hit hard and are now cleaning up the mess. They saw more than 4 inches of rain on Friday. The Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency says it started the damage assessment on Saturday. Several stores on Kamehameha Avenue saw floodwaters rise and seeping into their shops.
It started flooding throughout all of downtown and throughout all the shops. So our shop actually got flooded. And so it was just me and 3 other girls at the time. So we had to move everything out of the window because it started to leak. And we had to try and clean up the water and stop the water from coming in.
To report damage, fill out the assessment form located on the Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency website, or you can call their number at 808-935-0031. Back here on Oahu, a suspect is still on the run following a deadly stabbing in Waianae. As our Eddie Dowd reports, this comes as the community is starting to think about ways to reduce violence.
This most recent fatal stabbing here in Waianae comes more than a week after Mayor Blangiardi held a town hall focused on crime in the area. It also comes just 2 days after a neighborhood security walk was held down the road. Investigators spent hours on Plantation Road off Farrington Highway next to Waianae Elementary School. Police say 3 men got into an altercation at 2 a.m. and one of them was stabbed. One witness who didn't want to show their face says it appears he was ambushed.
I could tell that he was trying to avoid them. And then they went into the dark spots, and then they went back into the middle of the road, and then I saw the guy's body just here and collapse.
Police say the incident does not appear to be a random act. The deadly attack is just down the coast from the neighborhood where dozens joined this security walk in Ma'ili on Friday. It was organized by Mana Olayan, who spent 27 years in and out of jail before working with at-risk youth. So for the people who might be wondering, you folks just had a security walk just a few days ago and then this happens, are they working?
It's not going to stop crime altogether, but, just more awareness and prevention on our streets in our community. But, giving that opportunity for a community to get involved, because the worst thing we can do is do nothing.
Many in this area are still thinking about a recent town hall exchange with the mayor when he was asked if more police would be brought in to address crime. He said HPD is working on it, but police are only part of the solution.
I've been out here now multiple times on neighborhood watch walks. Why isn't the community doing more? The police can't do everything.
That's right, sir.
So why don't you guys deal with it?
The comment has sparked debate, with some acknowledging that socio-economic factors are part of the puzzle on the west side.
More police not going to solve everything. Nowadays, more people, community needs to step up. Not just talking about it, but needs to stand up, and take responsibility, of your own neighbors. Needs to come in unity to work together.
Eddie Dowd, Hawaii News Now.
In central Oahu, HFD responded to a fire at a 2-story townhouse in Mililani on Sunday. It happened around 7 o'clock in the morning near Lanikuhana Avenue. Residents were able to get out of the house in time. EMS crews cared for 2 people. Both said they didn't need to go to the hospital. Now we're told crews extinguished an appliance fire in the kitchen, but the cause of that is still under investigation. In international news, aid workers struggled to distribute dwindling food supplies to hundreds of thousands of Palestinians today, displaced by what Israel says is a limited military operation in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. NBC's Richard Engel reports from Jerusalem.
There is now intense fighting in multiple parts of the Gaza Strip. When Israel launched its war against Hamas about 7 months ago, after Hamas launched its massacre in Israel, it began in the north. It started fighting in areas north of Gaza City, then into Gaza City itself, and it has continued to move south through Khan Yunis, and with now Israeli troops focusing their attention on the city of Rafah. Israeli troops have not entered the most densely populated parts of Rafah. All of Rafah is incredibly crowded because as the Israeli military campaign has moved from the north to the south, civilians have followed more or less the same trajectory. They have been escaping the fighting as Israel has pushed from the north to south. They've been told to evacuate toward the south, and now Israel is telling people that they need to evacuate from Rafah as well. And all day since yesterday as well, people have been gathering what they can, loading up their belongings onto horsebacks, using broken vehicles, taking tents if they have them, and are leaving parts of Rafah and going to an area right along the Mediterranean coast. And according to UN agencies, more than 350,000 people have already evacuated from Rafah. And there are roughly, according to the UN, about 1.4 million people in that area, most of them displaced from other war-torn parts of the Gaza Strip. Richard Engel, NBC News, Jerusalem.
The man who once said he'd take a bullet for Donald Trump testified against him in his criminal trial in New York City today. Jared Hill reports from outside the courthouse.
What do you have to say?
Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's former longtime personal lawyer and fixer, took the stand Monday.
You plan on telling the truth?
In his testimony, Cohen detailed so-called catch-and-kill operations to quash unfavorable press about his former boss. Cohen implicated Trump in a 2015 effort to kill a false negative story a Trump Tower doorman had been shopping. Cohen testified that Trump told him, quote, "Make sure that this story doesn't get out. You handle it."
The prosecution has to portray Cohen as a fixer who was, the henchman to Donald Trump, close to him, set on, doing his dirty work.
Cohen's $130,000 payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels is at the heart of the case. Prosecutors say Trump directed Cohen to make the payment ahead of the 2016 election to keep Daniels quiet about an alleged 2006 sexual encounter with Trump. Prosecutors say Trump then engaged in election fraud by classifying checks Cohen received as legal payments when they were really reimbursements for the Daniels deal, meant to sway the election. The former president has pleaded not guilty and says the encounter with Daniels didn't happen.
Got no evidence, and I'm innocent.
With former President Trump under a gag order not to talk about witnesses, he didn't comment on Michael Cohen's testimony today. Instead, Trump allies attacked Cohen's credibility.
This guy is a convicted felon. Does any reasonable, sensible person believe anything that Michael Cohen says? I don't think that they should.
Michael Cohen has admitted to lying under oath. He also served jail time on federal charges related to these payments. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
Terrifying moments during Mass at a Louisiana church on Sunday. Authorities say the quick actions of parishioners likely saved lives. Jim Hummel has more on what happened.
There was a situation going on. There was somebody at the church with a rifle.
The chaos in church was captured on a live stream of the service at St. Mary Magdalene Catholic Church, where 60 children were making their first Holy Communion. 48 minutes into the service, you can see a man approach Father Nicholas Dupre and whisper something in his ear. Father Dupre stopped what he was doing, then told everyone to sit, and he started praying the Hail Mary.
I would like everyone to join me in prayer. Hail Mary,
But attention soon turned to the back of the church. And police descended on the church, even on the altar, where altar servers ran to safety and clergy crouched behind the altar. According to witnesses, the teen, dressed in black and armed with a rifle, was confronted by parishioners, escorted outside, and placed under arrest. Witnesses tell News 15 police were concerned there could have been another person with guns inside the church, so police went in for a sweep.
So guys, just get a hold of your child, go slowly. We did apprehend a young man. He is in custody. He is in the police custody. Calm down and just get next to your child and go slowly.
Abbeville Police, Vermilion Sheriff's deputies, and the FBI are investigating. There will be added security at St. Mary Magdalene for all upcoming masses.
A number of major airlines are taking legal action against the federal government. A lawsuit from the carriers and industry lobby Airlines for America claims the Department of Transportation exceeded its authority with a rule that requires airlines to disclose all of its fees. The airlines involved in the suit are Alaska, American, Delta, Hawaiian, JetBlue, and United. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg says the rule change benefits consumers overall. The agency estimates travelers would save $500 million annually, but Airlines for America, in a statement, says the new DOT rule change will complicate the ticket buying process. It calls it an alleged attempt to, quote, regulate private business operations. And new today, Hawaii is part of a more than $10 million settlement with wireless carriers over misleading advertising practices. Some of the common deceptive ads include unlimited data, free phone offers, and money incentives when switching wireless networks. Hawaii will receive nearly $80,000 as a part of the 50-state settlement. The money may be used for consumer protection and education. And over the weekend, local postal workers did their part to stamp out hunger. They collected food for the hungry as a part of the annual nationwide food drive by letter carriers. Residents filled bags with food and left them at their mailboxes for the carriers to come and pick up. Locally, the donations were taken to the Hawaii Food Bank.
I didn't realize the impact that the letter carrier's food drive had. I walked in the warehouse and it was like the shelves were kind of empty. At the end of the day, when we brought in the donations, we filled up the shelves. And so I knew, and we always say that, letter carriers do more than just deliver the mail.
You can still help the effort by donating money. That can be done online at hawaiifoodbank.org or by texting NALC to 71777. Introduced to the islands more than a century ago, axis deer have caused some major problems for parts of Hawaii. Our KC Lund has new details on an effort that is aiming to help with the problem.
Aloha from Chef Zone. We've been out here. They are a great resource for folks in the restaurant and food service industry. You may remember we were talking about how they help some of those local businesses with the transition of Bill 40 into those biodegradable to-go products. This, although, is not just for people in the restaurant business and in the food service industry. It's a great place for people that just want to step up their game in the kitchen. But we're also featuring an event coming up on Tuesday. Now, this is sold out, but we're hoping to inspire folks. Chef Alan Wong is going to be doing a demonstration cooking venison. Molokai axis deer brought over here from the Friendly Isle. That is a process, by the way, but it's also part of a greater effort to break down the stigma behind venison, behind axis deer, and show people what can be done with it. Malcolm Meat's owner, Micah Richards, is with us. We also have Chris Bailey from the Wahiawa Value Added Product Development Center. Talk to you about how you play into this whole puzzle here. But Malcolm Meats, this is something that you guys are really proud of, working with those local hunters to bring venison to the other islands, correct?
Yes, we're really happy that we're working with local USDA inspected hunters, that people can also trust that the process is clean, humane, and safe, so that when they get venison over at their local source here over at Chef Zone, they can be very happy that the meat is as clean and safe as can be. Also, it just doesn't have that gamey flavor that I know a lot of people have experienced before. Trust me, it's a lot different from what you're used to.
By the way, I want to roll the video, if we can, of Chef Alan Wong making us venison poke. I gotta say, it almost tasted like sashimi, like it was like ahi tuna.
I know, it's amazing what he did with that. Like, I'm incredibly happy. It was super tender. In fact, it was even more tender than a lot of the maguro that I've had or just any of the spicy tuna before. I know a lot of people want to have, enjoy and eat raw products, especially, if you're afraid of mercury, switch over to venison and try venison poke.
I gotta say, that was my first time trying any kind of poke that was not fish, and it was amazing. So I want to thank you for what you're doing, though, because also this is taking some of those animals out of the herd. And we've kind of talked about how much of a process that is and how it could maybe be better. But again, this is a great way to share how that meat can be used here in Hawaii. I want to also talk with Chris Bailey again from the Oahu Value Added Product Development Center. You work with folks like Micah from Malcolm Meats to help them bring these products into the market.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're really committed at the Waianae Value Added Product Development Center to support local entrepreneurs like Micah that are working with local ranchers, growers, also like products like Hawaiian Crunch Company.
Yeah, sure.
They're doing amazing granola out of Maui, so they're sourcing local canoe crops. Over 80% of their ingredients are sourced locally. We want to continue to turbocharge the effort, get these products launched in the market into places like Chef Zone, who have been amazing partners to these local makers.
Why is this important in Hawaii?
I think it comes down to regional economic diversification, food security. Again, we want to be able to get these companies to scale so they can sell their product all throughout the state and get food into our communities.
Ultimately also making us less dependent on food from the mainland. Chris Bailey with us again, as well as Micah Richards. Thank you so much for being with us from Malcolm Meats. If you missed any of that, again, that event happening on Tuesday is sold out, but they have all kinds of stuff like that here at Chef Zone all the time. We have a link for more information at HawaiiNewsNow.com. We'll send things back into the studio for now.
Thank you so much, Casey. Let's send you live outside one more time as we continue to track this severe weather. The flash flood warning for Windward Oahu remains in place until 1:45. Right after this short break, Guy Hoggy will have your full forecast.
How's it on this Monday? The storm system that swamped us the last few days is slowly pulling away. There's still some moisture, and that's why we are still seeing some spotty downpours this morning for a handful of spots. And we could see more clouds building up in the afternoon, leading to some afternoon downpours as well, but they won't be widespread. And because of those light winds, might be a little sticky today. So we're starting out with some spotty showers. We'll see drier conditions by lunchtime, and in the late afternoon into the early evening, more spotty spotty showers are expected around the mountains, but widespread rain not expected today or tomorrow. But a juicy storm system is due in on Wednesday. We'll have more on that in just a second. So out in the ocean, we've got a nice little boost coming in, some overhead sets. So the wintertime surf season not done yet. But keep in mind that we're expecting an extended run of south shore swells starting tomorrow. High surf advisories will likely be posted. So for today and tomorrow, we're going to get a little bit of a break. That storm system that swamped us over the weekend slowly pulling away. We'll still see some showers, but mostly spotty stuff in the afternoon because of the heat, the humidity, and the light winds. And then a juicy Kona low with possible thunderstorms expected to move in on Wednesday and linger through Friday with some more scattered showers through Saturday and Sunday. So if you live in an area that has flooded before, take precautions now.
On the next Investigate TV Plus, a major policy shift for military families.
Did you ever think 12 weeks paternity leave was ever going to happen?
No.
I was shocked.
We go in depth to see how listening to service members helped create reform and promote retention in the military.
Well, last week, the small town of Macomb, Illinois celebrated their connection to the board game Monopoly. Dylan Smith has more on the life of the person behind it all.
It's a day long in the making for Macomb, and a few hundred came out to experience it. The unveiling of the world's largest Monopoly board. Like traditional Monopoly, you roll the dice and move around the board, or in this case, downtown Macomb. You can win prizes along the way, like coupons for local businesses, or you can take a selfie in jail.
Lizzie was, a bit of a trailblazer.
And who better to cut the ribbon than a family member of the game's inventor?
What's important, I think, that she gets the credit for what she's done, and she's recognized for being a woman ahead of her time.
Lizzie McGee's great-great-grandniece, Erin Anderson, was researching her family tree at the same time as the chair of the Macomb Area Convention and Visitors Bureau's Lizzie Committee.
At that point, I made a connection through a text message, and she was indeed the Erin Anderson I was looking for.
That led Anderson to research her great-great-aunt even more. Almost 1 year later, on Lizzie's birthday, Erin is at her great-aunt's old stomping grounds.
It wasn't talked about a lot in my family. My grandma knew a bit because my grandma's grandma was Lizzie's sister.
But the effects of Macomb-opoly go far beyond honoring a Macomb legend. Illinois' Deputy Director of Tourism says the land of Lincoln saw 111 million visitors last year.
If you look at breaking that down, about 54 million of those visitors went to Chicago. So that's over 61 million visitors that are traveling to the rest of the state.
And that number could go up in smaller communities, but it doesn't stop there. The organizer of the Macomb-opoly project, Jock Headblade, says the next year is just the beginning for the game. Enhanced AI and more game pieces could be on the way sooner than you think.
It's remarkable that, back in 1903 when this was invented, nobody could have guessed that today would be standing here doing something like this 120 years later.
Joining us here in the Hawaii News Now Digital Center, we have a very special guest. You may recognize this face, Miss Sammy Solina, our former reporter. Sammy, how are you?
I am doing great. I am in town because my sister, Teresa, is graduating from UH Manoa, and she has her master's in English, everyone.
Wow.
Woo! Good, Tessa!
Congratulations to your sister.
Yes.
Since you have left Hawaii News Now, we miss you dearly.
Thank you so much.
But tell us, what have you been up to?
Yes, I am a reporter and multimedia journalist at KARE 11 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I did lose my tan, for sure. But I am around such wonderful storytellers over there.
Yeah.
And it's been such a wonderful experience.
Oh, it's always so good to see familiar faces here at Hawaii News Now. Once people leave, they come back and visit us, and Sammy that's why she's here. What has it been like to make the transition from Hawaii News all the way to news where you are?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely really different. Of course, I was in Alaska before Hawaii News Now, and so really, none of my full-time career has ever been on the mainland, and that has been a huge adjustment. There's so much news to cover in a place like Minneapolis, so many wonderful stories about people doing good for their community. And then, of course, we are post George Floyd, and there's a lot of hurt in the community as well. So there's some heaviness there. But, whenever there's heaviness, you can find good people doing good work for their community. So. And
you've also been traveling quite a bit. Tell us about that.
Yes. I travel a lot because I'm in love with a man across the seas. And so it's really expensive to visit your significant other. I actually met him here, and so we try to meet up every once in a while, every quarter, to see one another. And so we've gone to Italy. I know you like
yes.
You've liked my Instagram post in Italy where I dropped spaghetti on my pants.
White pants.
White
Red
pants.
sauce, white pants. I don't know why you decided to wear white.
Doesn't work. Yeah, and I've just been to some incredible places, which is amazing. Of course, I always miss it here, and I'm always so happy to come back.
Well, we miss you, and we are so happy to see you doing so well. Ladies and gentlemen, our special guest, Sammy Solina, visiting us once again here at Hawaii News Now. Sammy, thank you for stopping by.
I miss you.
And that was a special conversation with Sammy Solina that we recorded last week. Let's end today again checking in on that breaking news that we brought to you at the top of the show. We do know that severe weather is hitting windward Oahu. There was some activity here. We know of several cars that are stalled on the windward side in Kaneohe area. The flash flood warning is in effect for windward Oahu until 1:45 this afternoon. So if you're out on the roads, please be very safe. We'll have continuing team coverage starting at 4 o'clock. Aloha.